Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2 of Operation Gabrielle, 23 parachute field ambulances tour in Rwanda with UNAMIR II. First part was about the prep and move to Rwanda, and this part would be the move and work to Ruhengeri. So just to recap, we've been on a sort of 2 or 3 week airborne exercise on Salisbury Plain and around that area, and we're given index early and told to pack up and move to Rwanda. So in all it was 7 days, but obviously during the 7 days we didn't realise it was 7 days. It was just do it quickly as possible and then hang around and wait as is standard. And anyone who spent any time in the army, especially in mid-service, will understand the joy of the smell of wet canvas, putting wet canvas away, which we did. So we got our stuff ready just in case it was needed somewhere else, painted the med boxes as always, and set up ready to go. Once we'd done that, it was a case of getting ready for the tour. So apart from the world's supply of vaccinations, we did the basics, did a zeroing of a weapon, didn't do an annual weapons test, just a zeroing, which took a while. And for that, we took over the SA-80, as you can see with iron sights, 60 rounds. It kept loaded all the time but not made ready, apart from once. And I was a good boy, I cleaned my weapon every day. But despite that, because the SA-80, shall we say, was a problem weapon, I couldn't cock it at the one chance I needed because it was so bunged up with crap. But yes, I took that over with us. So like I say, we caught whatever plane it was, I left the Galaxy over, and spent the night in Ruhengeri, around Kigali airport. At this time, we knew we were moving north to country, but we weren't 100% sure what we were going to do there. And so we were just reacting to what we were told, which was basically pack up, get in the back of a truck, and move to Ruhengeri, which was in the north, which we did because we were junior ranks. But it was in a state of flux, which I think is shown quite well by a couple of the BBC news clips from the time, which are just going to follow.
The operation to get aid to Rwanda and the refugee camps in Zaire has put pressure on this entire region. Aviation fuel is scarce, the airport's unused to busy schedules. So the flight bringing in the first of the British contingent this morning had RAF personnel on board who will be deployed at Kigali alongside the Americans. When the rest of the 600-strong group arrives, 4 more flights are expected today and more tomorrow, there'll be an assessment of where they can be best used. In the capital, there's a need for engineering effort and support for the aid organizations. On the road used by refugees returning from the camps, it's hoped that way stations can be set up to feed and treat those weakened by cholera and hunger. However, even the UN and the US military effort is proceeding cautiously. The political and military situation on the ground is not clear, and it's being stressed that the foreign troops are here for aid, not peacekeeping. Kate Adey, BBC News, Kigali.
This was what the men of 5 Airborne Brigade had trained for. They're used to being up at the sharp end when the forces go into action. Their job this time, as they arrived at Kigali Airport, not to wreak destruction, but to create order out of chaos.
The country really was just on the brink of recovering from the civil war. There were few people around, there were no essential services going, there was no traffic, no markets, nobody farming. It really was a catastrophic situation.
We cannot pretend to have an economy or any political situation without a population. It's like telling me to go and be prime minister in the Sahara Desert. I will not accept.
No one involved in this entire operation knows if the refugees are going to stay put in the camps, or if they're going to start coming back in groups small enough to be helped on the road, or, as they went to Zaire, in a human tidal wave. For the moment, only a few thousand a day are struggling home. Kate Adey, BBC News, Kigali.
So yeah, so it was a bit of a state of flux, and that's been seen for those news reports. A consideration that we were 5 airborne units, so this is definitely not the sort of normal situation for med work that we did. So it was a little bit different from war-type medicine, the stuff that we practiced. And I mean, it was definitely seen as the tour went on. Refugee medicine, the sort of civil war medicine, is very, very different. You see in the map there, Ruhengeri, we're headed to northwest of Kigali, and a closer view of Ruhengeri. The hospital, as you can see, is kind of in the middle of town, and just come up is a satellite image. It's in the lower part of the screen there. Anyway, so we moved up. It's very different from sort of European roads. Outside of the main roads, it was sort of dirt track time, but the main roads were okay. Different sights and sounds from Europe. I've been to Bosnia and a couple of days in Northern Ireland, but hadn't been outside of Bosnia. I haven't been outside of Europe, and definitely not outside of Europe itself. So Africa was very new for me. Once we got to Ruhengeri Hospital, we had 48 hours to sort it out to be ready for treating casualties, and it was not in a good state, as can be seen by this news clip.
The British parachute field ambulance team is arriving in Ruhengeri, scrubbing out a filthy and looted hospital building, while shunting extra beds to the hard-pressed MSF centre next door.
We can provide a source of clean water, basic first aid, and we also have facilities to deal with diarrheal illnesses, for instance. We'll do what we can with the resources we've got.
Yep, so we had 48 hours to sort out the situation. So we worked on our accommodation, which was a pretty shocking state. It's 7 to 10 to a room, but such as army. And then the ward facilities and the healthcare facilities, which required a very good scrubbing, as they weren't up to standard after sort of 4 months of civil war and neglect. As you can be seen by the picture, I had a bit of burning as well, a bit of admin, but that was all good. Just over the wire, you could see in this picture here, that's supposed to be the place where the Gorillas in the Mist was filmed, so a bit of fame there, and just some admin shots there, just doing the basic simulation, cleaning the weapon, etc. But yeah, we were on rat packs for all of Ruhengeri, and in a couple of weeks when we went to the next location, which was fine, but it gets a bit monotonous. There's only 4 different menus in the British Army rat pack, so it sort of bungers you up as well. But yeah, so 2 days to get ready. Also, guard duty with the RPF, or Rwandan Patrol, at front of the front gate. Whilst I was on stag for that night before we opened, there was a group of Canadian trucks that came in. They were bringing us a mass casualty situation following a rogue traffic crash, which was a bit of a surprise because they came unannounced. Yeah, a few dead from there. So that wasn't the best introduction to med work. But yeah, got that out of the way, get the heads down, and then ready for the first day, day 1, which was an eye-opener. So started at whatever time, say 8 o'clock, and then the casualties started coming through from the sections. So sections received the casualties, triage, treated what they could, and sent us the stuff that couldn't just be sent away. And the casualties were pretty challenging, shall we say. There was mine victims, gunshot wounds, meningitis, lady diarrhea, malaria. Remember that there'd been a civil war for 4 months and none of this treatment. So people were coming with sort of 2, 3, 1 month old gunshot wounds. And yeah, I just hadn't seen anything like this in my career up until this point. I don't think I was alone in this. Definitely with the more junior medics, they hadn't seen anything like it at all. I'd seen some things, having worked in a hospital, done the training, but not this amount of casualties in this short a stated period. But we did. We triaged the patients, we moved them through to the ward, started doing the sort of ward-based care. The ward was a sort of 24-hour facility, of which I was in charge, even though I was a Lance Corporal. There was a team of medics with me, ranging from the skill-based and seniority, but they're split into 3 shifts: night shift, morning shift, and afternoon shift. And after a relatively short period, the ward went into that rhythm that is a ward anywhere in the world, be it with some linguistic difficulties. It wasn't an ex-English colony, so I spoke a lot of French. We had some translators, but there's still that communication difficulty. And again, a lot of the casualties, or a lot of the patients, were sort of base medical conditions, as well as gunshot wounds and stuff like meningitis and bloody diarrhea, especially bloody diarrhea. The beds on the wards reflected this. They were basically just old iron springs one, and they had 2 layers of polythene on them with a hole in the middle where your butt went, just for the patient's shit, bloody diarrhea, to dropped down to the floor to be cleaned up. So much bloody eye, so much malaria. But like I say, other things that you don't really see in the West, like gas gangrene of legs, stories about what had happened during the Civil War. So it was pretty eye-opening. But like I say, a ward is a ward is a ward. So we switched into that routine. But it was constant, it was ongoing. I definitely saw more death there than I had in my X number of years of training. So definitely an eye-opener. The photograph on the left is Captain J. He was a GP practicing. Great doctor, great guy. Definitely facilitated the ward. Good to work with. Casualties would come to us, get treated and be shipped off either healthy-ish or off to a civilian hospital in Kigali. We didn't hold for that long because we didn't really have the facilities. We stabilised and got out. From memory, I don't think we did any surgery there. I can't remember 100%. But yeah, it doesn't come to memory at all. But yeah, so day one was a bit of a shock, and then we just settled down and spent the next 9 or 10 days on the ward looking after these patients. Pretty hard work, but that's the job it was.
Yeah, we'll do it then. If you bring him around, if you can get him around, Charlie, feed him up.
So that's day one. So end of day one, well, end of shift one for us because the day didn't end in the ward. Went back to the accommodation, had a shower such as it was, and then stagged on and did the routine.
Have been given immediate care and discharged. A small number have been admitted, and 1 or 2 will probably have to be transferred to the hospital in Kigali this afternoon. We have 4 doctors and 32 other medical personnel working here, set up in the outpatients department and on one of the wards.
Do you believe you have enough resources to cope with the job that you've been assigned here?
So far today, we've been able to treat all the patients who've presented. However, there are vast numbers of people looking for medical treatment out there, and we don't have the resources to treat them all. However, as more of our resources come online, we will have a greatly increased capacity to deal with patients.
All right, thanks again.
So this is me and Elle in the ward office. Elle was I'd met him in junior leaders. He was in the intake below me, but when I got posted away, I hadn't seen him for a number of years, and then posted to the same unit. So he was one of the medics on the ward, and yeah, just a bit of a rest, and then back onto the ward after that. So you can see the conditions, they are fairly rudimentary, and that was reflected throughout the ward and the equipment we had, which was mostly UN stuff. So again, I'm familiar with that, but med equipment is med equipment. So we were receiving the patients, and I'm just going to show you now through some news clip what the sections did before the patients got to us.
His baby isn't able to drink that water. Ari guhitwa nawe
ariko ariko ntari cyane ariko ari kugira umuriro kandi agakorora.
Bon, another problem is baby is coughing to cough.
Yeah. We might have to actually get in
no guhumeka ariko yahumetse nabi.
Speak to Major Nicola, get an NG tube in. That's right.
Right, Andy, just have a chat with Mum. Yeah. is the fact that she's not drinking. Is that right? Just to confirm that? Not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. A little bit thin, yeah.
She gives her cereal boy.
Cereal?
Yeah. And
coughing all the time. Oh yeah. Yeah. Steve, look. See that one out there? Is it your one, isn't it?
Yes.
No, just stick this. Right. This will take a long time.
An Australian field hospital arrived in the capital in the early hours, and a Canadian one is on its way north. Everyone's trying to get up and running while the mass of refugees is still in Goma. However, the new Rwandan Prime Minister just wants his population back now.
Yep, so as we were doing this, more medics were arriving all the time. So at least we're alone. So here's see one of the medics from the dishing station. I guess the fella's name Felix. He got burned by an exploding lantern. He used fuel was oil, and it blew up in his face. He came for us for treatment. He's got his dressing over his eye there. He had a really good recovery. You can see him photo coming up after a couple of days, and a good result. So he didn't lose his sight, and it looked pretty good afterwards. So we had lots of things like that. Pain threshold of the patients was amazing compared to what I was used to in the UK. Antibiotics, honestly, the effect of the antibiotics was fantastic. But yeah, after 10 days, we got orders for our next move, which was a move to the south of the country. As it says there, Remission Statement, 23 Parafield Ambulance Groups to provide humanitarian assistance in the southwest of Rwanda in order to encourage the refugee population to stay in that part of the country. So we've done obviously what was required up north, and we were needed down south. This is to do with the French moving out of that zone, and I won't go into the politics of that, but they were moving away and we were replacing them as a stabilisation force. And obviously details of more depth will be had in the next videos, but basically we worked the next 2 months in a refugee centre at Kigali. Bit of a change to what I was doing there, because what I was doing in Ruhengeri was basic ward work, albeit differently, whereas this refugee medicine. But yes, so packed up again, all the med gear, and ready to rock. So we moved out moderately early. This is us on a truck on the way down. Same sort of mode of transport. Again, if you've been in a 4-tonner, you know exactly what it's like in the back. If you're the country, it was nice. And then for various reasons, we were held up overnight, so we had to sleep in said truck, which was lovely, and just staying on overnight. And then we arrived relatively early the next morning at Katabo, I think it was. You know, a suitable war shot on the way there. Of course, we had a moustache growing competition, and mine did not go well. So there ended the first couple of weeks in Rwanda, and it was a bit different, a bit of a shock. I think we did a good job in Ruhengeri. I'm not sure the stats when we were up there, but yeah, definitely did some good there. And then moving south was a bit of an unknown, especially moving into a refugee centre, refugee camp for the whole time. But yeah, off we went. So part 3 would be the work whilst we're in the refugee centre. Alright, thanks for watching. Cheers.